Greetings and namaskara, everyone. This Himalayan Academy Publications presentation is by Satguru Bodhinatha Velan Swami and is based upon the Publisher's Desk article in the October, November, December 2012 edition of our magazine, Hinduism Today, and is entitled Sinner or Divinity. In today's world of global communication, we encounter a multiplicity of views about the nature of man on a regular basis. At one extreme, each human being is inherently weak, imperfect, sinful, and without divine redemption, will remain helplessly so. At the other extreme, each human is inherently divine. This is one of the themes I talked about with Hindus in the Caribbean in August of 2011. I was told in Trinidad during my 2010 trip that this message, "You are a sinner in need of redemption," is being promoted strongly in an effort to convert Hindus. I am often asked, what should we say when confronted by strong-willed evangelists who say we are sinful and need redemption? What is the Hindu view? Let's explore three quotations from prominent Swamis to define our perspective. The first is from Swami Vivekananda's address to the World's Parliament of Religions, which was held in Chicago in 1893. Vivekananda's message reflects his typically outspoken manner in affirming truth as he saw it. Being and becoming are different aspects of the same reality, and only are relative to our intelligence. Man has the promise and potentiality of divine realization, of spiritual perfection, and therefore is God in the making, for even his humanity is intelligible only if regarded as an individualized self-expression of God. It is derogatory to human nature, therefore, to attribute sin to man. Besides, God being the sole and supreme reality, how could a foreign element like sin invade the sanctuary of being? The Hindus refuse to call you sinners. Yea, divinities on earth sinners. It is a sin to call man so. It is a standing libel on human nature. Swami Chinmayananda, founder of Chinmaya Mission, echoes those thoughts. Man is essentially divine, but the divinity in him is veiled by the unbroken series of desires and thoughts arising in his bosom. A variety of these grades and concentration of these create the variety of human beings. To remove the encrustation of desires and thoughts and unfold the divinity inherent in man is the ultimate goal envisaged by the scriptures. Gurudeva Savaya Subramanya Swami, founder of Hinduism Today, gave a succinct description of our divine nature. Deep inside, we are perfect this very moment, and we have only to discover and live up to this perfection to be whole. We have taken birth in a physical body to grow and evolve into our divine potential. We are inwardly already one with God. Our religion contains the knowledge of how to realize this oneness and not create unwanted experiences along the way. These opposite perspectives on man's nature, sinner and divinity, were candidly juxtaposed during a 2012 interfaith panel discussion in Midland, Texas, at which I represented Hinduism. The issue arose as clergy from 5 faiths responded to the question, in your faith, is humanity considered a one family? My answer was, the Hindu belief that gives rise to tolerance of differences in race and nationality is that all of mankind is good. We are all divine beings, souls created by God. Hindus do not accept the concept that some individuals are evil and others are good. Hindus believe that each individual is a soul, a divine being who is inherently good. Scriptures tell us that each soul is emanated from God as a spark from a fire, beginning a spiritual journey which eventually leads back to God. All human beings are on this journey, whether they realize it or not. The next speaker, Dr. Randall Everett of the Baptist Christian Faith, put forth a distinctly different perspective. The idea of the oneness of humanity, this is where Christianity would differ from some of the religions. We do believe in the oneness of humanity, but that the oneness of humanity is that we are a fallen people. We do not believe that we are inherently good. We believe we are inherently selfish and self-centered, and that's why we need to be rescued or redeemed, that Christ rescues us from the domain of darkness. Looking more closely at the Hindu belief that man is not inherently sinful, rather the essence of man is divine and perfect, a further question arises: what is the Hindu view of sin? Gurudeva responds in Dancing with Shiva. Instead of seeing good and evil in the world, we understand the nature of the embodied soul in three interrelated parts: instinctive, or physical emotional, intellectual or mental, and superconscious or spiritual. When the outer or lower instinctive nature dominates, one is prone to anger, fear, greed, jealousy, hatred, and backbiting. When the intellect is prominent, arrogance and analytical thinking preside. When the superconscious soul comes forth, the refined qualities are born: compassion, insight, modesty, and the others. The animal instincts of the young soul are strong. The intellect yet to be developed is non-existent to control these strong instinctive impulses. When the intellect is developed, the instinctive nature subsides. When the soul unfolds and overshadows the well-developed intellect, this mental harness is loosened and removed. This understanding of man's threefold nature, instinctive, intellectual, and spiritual, explains why people act in ways that are clearly not divine, such as becoming angry and harming others. There is more to man than his essence or inner nature. We also have an outer nature. However, man's actions, whether beneficial or harmful, sinful or divine, are all expressions of a one energy. That energy finds expression through the chakras, 14 centers of consciousness within our subtle bodies. This chart lists the 14 chakras starting at the head and going downward to the feet. The name and attribute for each is Saraswara, illumination; Ajna, divine sight; Vishuddha, divine love; Anahata, direct cognition; Manipura, willpower; Swadhisthana, reason; Muladhara, memory; Atala, fear, lust; Vitala, raging anger; Sutala, retaliatory jealousy; Talatala, prolonged confusion; Vasatala, pure selfishness; Mahatala, absence of conscience; and Patala, malice, murder. Many of us have seen the system for water usage at temples in India, a long pipe with faucets along its length from which many people draw water to wash their hands and feet before entering the temple. That's a nice analogy to energy in the chakras. Our subtle body is like a pipe with 14 spigots. Water is water. It can come out any of the spigots. It's still water. Energy can come out through any of our chakras. It's still energy. Energy flowing through the higher chakras expresses a superconscious or spiritual nature. How do we control or direct our nature to keep it flowing through the higher chakras? Gurudeva used to say, energy goes where awareness flows. We control our energies through consistent meditation and devotional activities in the home shrine, chanting, performing puja, attending puja, and going to the temple on a regular basis. Listening to and playing refined music and performing traditional dance and other creative arts are also ways of channeling the energies through the higher chakras. Our regular activities determine how our energy flows. If we are engaged in spiritual pursuits, occasionally we might get up to the chakra of divine love. And hopefully we frequent the chakra of direct cognition, in which we are able to look down on our mind and understand what we like and don't like about ourselves, and work steadily to change what we don't. And we get into the chakra of willpower. These are the qualities we tend to manifest if we are engaged in regular spiritual, religious activities. If we are not elevating the energies, we are just living an ordinary life in the force centers of willpower, reason, memory, maybe fear, and occasionally anger. If we see the flow of energy impersonally, then we can control it through the activities we choose to engage in. I like to say that we have an inner perfection and an outer imperfection. We can take heart in identifying more with the inner perfection, our soul nature, and realize the outer has its problems, which we can work on. And that is the purpose of our life on earth, to work on ourselves, to learn, evolve, and ultimately know God. With this attitude born of the belief in our divinity, we are more detached from our shortcomings and difficulties. It's just energy flowing through our various chakras, more water flowing through one spigot or another. It is not who we are. We realize that we control that flow of energy. Which spigot shall I turn on today? How do I want my energy to flow? What negative habit do I want to improve today? It all becomes easier to tackle because we look at it in an impersonal way. The concept of the 14 chakras can help us put our failings into perspective so that we do not become discouraged by them. Shortcomings, such as occasionally being hurtful toward others, do not at all change the fact that our essence is divine. We can deepen our experience of inner divinity and overcome shortcomings by consistently following the various practices found in the Hindu religion. When we feel good about ourselves, we can more readily identify negative patterns and change them. If we have a negative concept of ourselves, believing that we are inherently flawed and sinful, we are not in such a good position to advance on the spiritual path. And one thing we can all feel good about is that Hinduism assures us not only that we are not sinners, but that every human being, without exception, is destined to achieve spiritual enlightenment and liberation. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.